Welcome to Music in Progress, your window into the art of composing music. I'm your host, Michael Cook, a Bay Area composer and multi-instrumentalist. We'll delve into the depths of my creative processes that shape the music I make. Whether you're a fellow musician, an enthusiast, or simply curious about the magic behind the melodies, you'll find valuable insights, practical tips, and innovative techniques to inspire your own musical journey.
Taiwan, Beethoven and a new quintet. I spent most of February in Taiwan, celebrating Chinese New Year and learning more about what my grandfather experienced during the 8/23 artillery bombardment. It was meaningful to spend time there not only with family, but also reflecting on that history and how it connects to our own family story. When I returned home in March, I received copies of the long-awaited article I wrote about my Fourth Symphony for the American Beethoven Society. It came out beautifully, and I'm very grateful they chose to publish it. Besides that excitement, I've also been gathering ideas for the woodwind quintet project I mentioned earlier. Over the past few weeks, I've written notes and sketches for several sections of the piece. Inspiration and research. One interesting thing about this project is that my approach so far has been quite different from my usual workflow. Normally, I begin with an idea and spend time researching and developing it. I did some of that here as well. I looked at several Chinese folk songs I already had, and I also spent time learning about native Taiwanese pestle music. Pestle music originally developed as a work song used while pounding millet. What fascinated me was how rhythmic and minimal the music is. Each performer plays a very simple repeating pattern, but the parts interlock through hocketing, a technique where a melody is divided between multiple performers so that each plays only fragments. Individually, the parts are extremely simple, but together they create a surprisingly intricate rhythmic and melodic texture. Minimalist hocketing draft. That idea of simple parts combining into a larger rhythmic melody felt like a natural fit for the more minimalist sections of the quintet. Transforming the folk material. The melody I chose comes from a folk song, Qi Long, that roughly translates to Riding the Dragon. In its original form, the tune sits comfortably in a pentatonic scale, giving it a bright and direct folk character. After working with it for a while, however, I decided to reinterpret it through an octatonic collection. That change gives the material a more modern harmonic color and allows the music to shift easily between major and minor sonorities. Rather than quoting the melody directly, I'm treating it more the way Bartók often treated folk material, reshaping the intervals and adapting the tune to the language of the piece. At the same time, I'm breaking it into smaller fragments, closer to Lutosławski's approach, where short motives become the building blocks for larger textures. A different kind of process. Normally, by this stage, I would already have developed a clear structure for the piece. This time, however, the process has been a little different. At this point, I still haven't settled on a true structure. The only guiding idea is to mix a circle music, aleatoric section with a more rhythmic minimalism style section. I imagine the piece being relatively short, perhaps 5 to 7 minutes, and playable by non-professional musicians. Beyond that, there isn't a detailed plan yet. While I was in Taiwan, I wrote notes for one section that might become something like a cross between a chorale and a fugue. Unfortunately, a bug in the Dorico iPad version later overwrote those notes, so I'll have to reconstruct that idea from memory. My goal there was to make sure that all of the material could be generated from the same folk melody, allowing the ideas to transform naturally into different textures. So at this point, I have many of the ingredients I would normally need to write the piece: motives, harmonic ideas, and rhythmic concepts. But I'm still missing the most important element: the overall structure or form. What comes next? Now that my jet lag has finally passed, the next step is deciding how these ideas should fit together and shaping them into a coherent piece. Ideally, I'd like to complete the composition before I have to travel again at the end of March. For now, though, it's encouraging to see the musical ideas starting to take shape, even if the final structure is still waiting to reveal itself.